First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from our April 22nd meeting. Commissioners, any corrections or additions? Mr. Martin, Commissioner Martin.
Page, this is before at the top, Commissioner Barse is listed twice under the A's and nays. The nays should say Martin and Alpa.
Hey, now, what are you looking at again there?
Last page of the minutes,
Last page of the minutes, okay.
very top line.
Oh, okay, got it. We will make that correction.
Anything else? If not, do we have a motion for approval? I'll move to approve. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. The minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is the oath of office for Gino Messina.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Gino, if you could stand, please, and raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Gino Messina, do affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and the Charter and ordinances of the City of Hastings, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Planning Commissioner for the City of Hastings, counties of Dakota and Washington, and State of Minnesota, according to the best of my ability and understanding. Okay. Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome, Gina.
Good to be back. Thank you.
Okay, seeing there are no public hearings this evening, we'll move to the next item, and that is Vanguard Construction, Site Plan 2019-16. John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Planning Commissioners. What we're looking at tonight is a site plan approval for Schlumpka on Commerce Drive. This is probably commonly known as the old waste management site. Whoops, let's go back a little bit. This is Commerce Drive here, Millard Avenue, Spiral Boulevard. Their building on the site is located here, and then there's the main yard area located in this area. What they're proposing to construct is a 3,200 square foot building, which will be located near the southwest corner off of Commerce Drive. The condition of the property right now, as you can see, is a storage yard. Everything within the yard is accessed internally. The yard itself is not made or envisioned for the public to access. It is for the use of the people employed within the site itself. The building itself would be for storage purposes and would be accessed internally. Right now, there are two entrances to the site. There is one to the north here off of Spiral Boulevard, and then an existing one down to the south of a Commerce Drive. The Commerce Drive site would be closed off. So the singular access coming in would be from Spiral here, as well as another private entrance going in from the main shop to the east here. So the building itself would be within the yard. When you take a look at the requirements for this, we've looked at architecture, landscape, and some of the paving and parking requirements itself. It's kind of an unusual situation what we have here, being the building itself is storage, internally set, no access to the public. And so generally when we have a project in a development like this where it is unimproved and there's a requirement that they would need to bring the parking lot up to compliance at that point. Given the situation that this predates our code as far as paving requirements go, and given that the impact of the building they constructed is quite minimal, what we're asking to do tonight is to defer that requirement for paving as a covenant that would be recorded on the property, and if conditions changed on the site, that may trigger it in the future. Looking at the impact of what's going on right now, we don't believe that there's much of an impact from the construction of the new building, and that the requirement to pave the entire parking lot or entire yard area would be a bit of an imposition compared to what's being constructed here. So that is one unusual aspect of this that we are bringing forward. When you take a look at the building itself, from the outside, this would be where the location would be. Another view of the site. Building itself would be of a as you look towards the south elevation facing Commerce Drive, you've got some windows of brick veneer that's been added, so it does meet our minimum requirements for architectural standards for the site. Be a nice building itself. Building will be located approximately here on the site, about 10 feet west from the west property line, 10 feet from the south property line. There is some landscaping being added to the site, a little bit different from what you saw in your packets here, and I'll point that out. There is existing vegetation which is located along Commerce Drive, as you can see here. The area right here to the left would be added. This would be 9 more landscape pieces. And then over towards the east, there would be another 6. This is the entrance that presently goes into the site off of Commerce Drive. This would be closed, the fence extended, and landscaping being added. So this is something that is new that was not within your packet today. So we are recommending approval of this, subject to the conditions that are within the packet itself. I can stand for any questions that you might have. We also have representatives here from Schlamka and Vanguard, if you have any questions for them as well. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Commissioners, any questions, comments?
I got just one. In the, you come about the terms for deferring the service requirements,
Mhm.
is that the 2 bullet points that are listed here, or?
Right, those would be the terms that will be incorporated into the covenant, right? That the entire site serves a secured storage yard with no access to the public, and that the proposed building is intended for storage and what would not substantially intensify the property use.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions? If not, could stand for a motion.
I have one thing, if I can real quick.
Yeah, come right up.
Just a correction on behalf of Donnie Schlamka here. It would be on the, my name is Bill Beckfeld. I'm with Vanguard Construction, resident of Hastings. It would be on the first page here of the Planning Commission for the project. You guys reference in the Planning Commission action requested review the request of Vanguard Construction agent for Schlamka Services. It's actually Schlamka Properties. So I just wanted to correct that.
Okay, we'll make that correction.
Anything else while I'm up here, Donnie? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have a motion?
Make a motion. Make a motion to approve site plan 2019-16 for Schlamka Properties.
We have a motion from Commissioner Martin. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Commissioner Messina. Any further discussions? If not, seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Okay, and Commissioners, this will come forward to the City Council at their July 1st meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the other business.
Provide a few updates. It's been a little while since we've met here. At the council level, some of the items that have passed by the council that have been to planning commission, you probably have heard, chickens did go to the city council, and there was a lot of discussion on that. Ended up with a 3-3 vote, which was not an affirmative vote for it to take any action on an ordinance amendment. And so it was sent to the planning committee of city council, consisting of 3 of our city council members. They met a couple of weeks ago, reviewed some changes to the ordinance. Probably the most substantial change would be that the licensure for chickens would be an administrative permit instead of coming forward to planning commission and city council. And so if you meet the requirements that were stated, staff would issue an administrative permit on that. So that was what they were discussing at the meeting. They're also going to further discuss that at an upcoming planning committee meeting on July 9th, those planning committee of council members. So what'll happen at that point is hopefully they'll come up with a recommendation, report back to the city council on July 15th, and then if there's any action that would require planning commission review, it would come back here. If what goes forward right now at planning committee, which is the elimination of the public hearing or the planning commission, city council review, I believe that would be substantial enough where we would bring it back to planning commission again if the council chooses to take further action on it. So maybe something coming forward to you guys in the future here. Other things that have happened, we had the special use permit rezoning for Deals for Wheels that came forward to you. That also went to city council, was approved by them. And so I believe they're taking action and moving forward on that project, which is good. And looking at, also we had the comprehensive plan, the authorization from the city council to deliver the plan to Metropolitan Council for their review. With the comprehensive plan, there's the aspect that we do at the city level, putting the plan together. We put it out when we were completed to neighboring jurisdictions and other entities for review, got the review comments back, and then addressed those, had the city council bless the changes so that that could move on to Metropolitan Council for their review. So bottom line is it'll go forward to Metropolitan Council, and at some point in the near future, we'll have the approved plan finally in place. So kind of a long process on that one. When we take a look at what we've got coming before us here, I know it's been a few meetings since we last met. There are a couple of items that should be landing here shortly. One of them is Caribou Einstein, or Caribou Coffee, I should say. I think that you guys are aware that probably about a year ago, there was some plans drawn up, and we had actually scheduled for a planning commission meeting for that site located next to, just south of Walgreens on Vermilion Street. There was some issues there with access easements with the Walgreens properties that have finally been resolved. I talked to the developer of the property, owner of the property today. They're ready to move forward. So they're going to be putting together a few changes to the site plan, and I think that'll be before us either in July or August for planning commission review, which will be good. We're also had an application come in for a special use permit for some first floor residential in the downtown area, so we'll have that coming forward in the near future as well. And so those are a couple of things that we'll be looking at here. And so that's what I have to report, and I can stand for any questions or comments that the commission might have.
Commissioners, any questions for John?
Mr. Chair. Any updates on the Hudson building?
That was my question.
Sure. With the Hudson building itself, we got some very tight deadlines that we're facing with that. Officially, where it stands right now is they need to have what's termed substantial completion by the end of this year, which is not going to happen. And so we met with the city council at the beginning of May to share the status of where they're at right now, and we're putting together an amendment to that, which would extend the date out. But along with that, we've got some financial implications, some concerns. I mean, we transferred the property now almost, well, over a year ago, back in March of 2018. There's been delays that we did not expect to come up on there, and there's been some consequences that have come with that. Number one, we've expended more money with a bond payment that we did not anticipate because we anticipated revenue coming in from the project to pay for that, so that was a couple $100,000. And we have grants that we have been able to secure for the property that expire at the end of this year. One of them for the landscaping in the rear of the building by the river, about $1 million there, and then another $600,000 for some interior environmental remediation. So that's kind of our critical path at this point, is making sure that they have things in place to be able to expend those grant funds on a timely basis, because we do not want to be on the hook for any other expenses that would be incurred. So that's one of those items that, as we're going through the purchase and development agreement amendment that we have in mind, is that we want to make sure that we're not facing any undue expenses because of that. So they've got a very tight time frame they need to meet right now. We're meeting with them weekly to go through the list of what they're doing, and we'll keep our fingers crossed on that one. I'm still very hopeful.
Have they started any work at all down there, or?
Interior of the building, no. Nothing in the interior of the building. They're still trying to secure financing for that. They've got their prospectus together. They believe that'll occur here around September 1st, and they want to be able to be in a position where they could do some work prior to getting their construction loan, so that they could start some work yet this year, especially on those grant-related items. We need to get those things done this year. So as it looks right now, starting the project construction after September for most of it. Our grant-related items need to be done by the end of this year. The whole project itself, we want that done by December of 2020. And what's important about that date is the way that we refinanced the loan that we used to acquire the property, the $3 million loan. And the way that we financed that was that the TIF revenue that would come in from the improvements of the building, the increase in the valuation would help pay for the loan itself. And with the project not happening, the value's not increasing, and our ability to recoup that, to repay the loan, is not there. So we want to be able to have the building in a position so that when they go through and do a property assessment on January 2nd, 2021, it would be, that thing is substantially complete and we can start recouping that. So we don't have any other unintended consequences and payments for that. So complicated project, will be a great project when it's completed, but frustratingly slow.
Is it primarily just the financials that are holding it up, or?
You know, part of it was financials, part of it was when they put the plan set together and started bidding it out, it became a little more expensive than what they anticipated it to be. So they spent a period of time going through some value engineering to bring down the costs, and they've done that to a point where they're comfortable. They, in fact, have submitted the building plans for the entire site. They did that last week. So that's another big step on it, along with the parking ramp being completed itself. Those are two really good steps that they've done. So it continues to move along. It's just at a pace that is slower than we'd like.
I have a question regarding the chickens. So I read over the planning committee minutes of June 6th, and a couple of things concerned me with that. And you kind of touched on it, presenting a revised draft ordinance amendment eliminating review by the planning commission and city council. So I went and looked on the city charter, and on page 17 of that, section 4.04 under ordinances talks about any ordinance amendments or changes needing to be approved by the council. So you're saying this would be an administrative permit then, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we're not amending the ordinance.
Well, right now, the ordinance would need to be amended to allow for chickens within the residential district.
Okay,
So the ordinance amendment that was the amendment that failed before the council. And so a possible amendment that could come forward would be to allow chickens as an administrative permit. Now, we need to get the blessing of the planning committee on that. We have a meeting scheduled for July 9th. So they'll meet on July 9th. I'm hopeful that there will be a conclusion to this, that they will report back to the council on July 15th. If there's any movement by the council to want to proceed with chickens, I believe it's gonna need to come back before the planning commission for review to do that. They may take the action too, where they look at that and they go, we're not interested in pursuing this anymore, and then it'd be done at that point. That's also a possibility.
okay. And just to add in my 2 cents for what it's worth, probably less than 2 cents, bullet point 3 under keeping a chickens, language would be changed to encourage licensed applicants to notify their neighbors. I think that's putting way too much faith in people that are, I mean, how do we ensure people are gonna knock on their neighbors' doors and say, hey, I want chickens? I mean, if I drug home a 40-foot boat and parked it next to my garage, I probably wouldn't go knock on my neighbor's door and ask him. It's my property. I'm gonna do it. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I think we're stripping away too much. I think it needs to be, you know, there needs to be some checks and balances there, with a notification from the city, so we can at least hang our hats on knowing that people were notified. And I think 5 years is quite a long time, but I guess we'll just wait and see, so,
All right.
thanks.
Sure.
Commissioners, anything else, other business? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carried. You're adjourned.